Hello, and welcome to Building HR Systems That Work for Women Spotlight. I'm Fatima, and I have my girl, Erin, here today. Erin, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Erin Kish. I have been in the HR and tech space for just over 20 years, and I currently work at UKG.
So let's jump into some questions. I hear that you're here to chat with me a little bit about HR and tech. So, from your perspective, Erin, why has HR historically been a woman-led space? And if you think that is true today, tell me why.
That's a good question. And it's one that often comes up all the way back in undergrad, right? You're picking your major and your counselor's kind of steering you a little bit, trying to help you align. And you even hear it back then, like, hey, this tends to be a more female career path. You hear it before you've even selected it. What I find fascinating is it takes a certain level of nurturing to balance the business operatives of HR, along with the empathy and the human nature of why we do HR or why companies work with humans every day. You're always balancing this fine nuance of, and you see it in discussion boards even, like, is HR on my side or is HR on my company's side?
Company side. Mhm.
And I mean, people are so passionate in their arguments. Oh, they're the company. It's all about liability. Oh, no, no, no. They're for the people. It's all about keeping people. And it's a fine threaded needle, right? Because you are part of the business operations and legal does get involved sometimes, but those aren't the avenues that we want to go down. It really is about nurturing, growing your employees, balancing the conversation. Whether you are on contract or employed at will, you are going to see that it is some part of a transaction. Every day, human relationships are transactional. We don't want to admit it, but
But
there's
they
always
are.
an exchange, right? And so there are business rules, there's societal rules, there's human rules. And I think it takes that nurturing and that flex to find that growth, which generally historically comes from a female background.
Mhm.
Not saying all the men out there don't make
Sure.
amazing HR professionals, because I've met, worked, seen a lot of them.
Absolutely.
I think that's where that originated, is the
Yes.
nurturing and women finding their way out of the executive assistant space, out of the secretary space, and naturally finding their way into the broader business architecture.
Well stated. Thank you for that. Um, from what you've seen, Erin, how do HR systems either support or drain us women in the workplace?
I think about this a lot because as an HR professional, I want my employees to have efficient, effective work lives.
Mhm.
And a long time, my whole career, we've talked about work-life balance.
Mhm.
And I've never really believed it existed.
Mhm.
I mean, over a decade ago, I was like, no, it's really about integration.
Mhm.
The moment that the internet came about, it became about integration, work-life integration. And what I constantly feel that systems are lacking is that integration with the appropriate walls built in. You need the walls to maintain limited liability on an employer side. You need the walls because we all want our privacy, right? With technology today, with APIs today, with the fact that so many of these core infrastructure companies are supporting so many industries, I constantly question, why is there not more integration into that work life question? Because I know as a mom, I would love if I could say, this is my school district, and my kids' days off automatically load on my calendar. And then, oh, hey, there's an AI agent out there in my workforce that's going to say, I noticed that your kids have these days off. Would you like to put in for PTO? Or would you like to ask for a modified schedule? That doesn't just help moms. That doesn't just help women. Let's just be honest. That helps families. That helps people.
I love that. That's a unique take that I have not thought about. And I love that. And I think that's a very good point. If we could integrate appropriately, uh,
Appropriately.
and and I think that we could be on our way. I think that with how technology is designed today, we just have to have the right people at the right table to help us figure this out because you're exactly right. It is about life integration. Good
hmm
point. Good point. Okay. If you think about the technology that you use today or technology that you've been around, how has that technology helped or made it more difficult for women in the workplace?
When I start thinking about technology and how it impacts women in the workplace, I go back to times in other industries. I think about technology in manufacturing. I think about technology in healthcare. It originally, going back to think about how women came into the workforce, was built with mostly men in mind. There's lockout tagout procedures, but the equipment that, whether it's mobile or in place, right, was mostly built thinking that men were going to be doing the maneuvering, the lifting. And then you see this translate down to work requirements, right? If you are going to hold this job, you have to be able to lift repetitively a minimum of 50 pounds. All of that original infrastructure that still exists required that. And so I think that's how technology impacts women in the workplace. It's not so much about me sitting here on my screen using my office equipment, looking at my phone, what app do I have? That's built for all in most cases. It's the hands-on technology that you notice that impact.
If we go back in time and look at the data of where we were working in the 70s, it wasn't in manufacturing places.
Very rarely. I can say that my grandmother was very atypical. She did work the lines at GM back in the day, and that was way before the 70s even.
That's true.
But
That's a good point. Yes.
that was more of a rarity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when you look at just the natural integration into the workforce, that wasn't our first employment,
It's not where we
generally
started.
speaking.
Yeah, good call. So it naturally would mean that the technology and the infrastructure that we lean on today is archaic.
You even hear that in technology. We went from monolithic software. You have on-prem, there was the whole cloud transformation, and now, hey, we're doing AI transformations. So you see that even in the tech world,
Mhm.
of course, that exists that way too. It's R&D, it's redesign, and it's not as simple as, oh, let me ship to GA a new code. It's, well, if it's made with metal, we probably have to get a new stamp. We need new blueprints. We need to pressure test. So you're looking at a multi-year plan
Systematic
to
overhaul.
just make a minor
Yes.
change.
So going to question 3.
Okay.
What is one piece of technology that you use generally, whether it's a personal or professional, that you use to make your life better?
It is my digital calendar. Because back to that work-life integration and why can my tech not all communicate and keep me on track? I know we're moving towards that with agentic, but
Mhm.
my kids, my significant other,
Mhm.
everybody goes into that schedule, including my work.
That's right.
And if it's not there, my smart home doesn't know what it's supposed to be doing. My alarm doesn't know what it's supposed to be
I
doing.
love that.
And I am probably going to show up late somewhere. So I have to stay very organized. And I love that we have digital calendars now that let us go everywhere with them.
Yes, me too. I agree. I love that. And when you think about where you are in your career as a woman leader and all the great successes that you have, what's one nugget that you want to leave for our listeners?
A very wise person told me, you can do it all, just not all at once. And so I am constantly reminding myself that on my most stressful days, whether it's stressful because of parenting or stressful because of work, different types of stress. But I constantly remind myself, I don't have to give up on goals. I can do it all, just not all at once. So pick
Very
what
true.
fits in your season.
That's right. Pick what fits in your season and also put it on your calendar.
Exactly.
Schedule
Get it on that calendar.
Get it on the
Otherwise, it
calendar.
doesn't happen.
Otherwise, it will not happen. Erin, thank you so much for joining us. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. It's a wonderful time speaking to you. Thank you.
As always, with you.
Yes.
Take care.
Yes.